Hello, everyone. Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights. My name's Robert,
I'm Eric.
and today's topic are our top 5 ancestries. Number 1, who will it be?
B. Why are we talking like this?
Monster Jam.
All right, that's right. This is part of keeping it weird,
It's
and
a
I'm happy to be
Monster
part of it.
Jam.
Monster Goblin Truck Rally. Am I doing it right?
That would be so fucking. That's so on brand.
That'd be great.
That'd
With
be
like
so
goblin
on brand.
weapons on the side of your trucks.
Oh my god, that'd be
Yeah.
fucking rad. We're getting seriously.
Everyone explodes by the end of it. There are no winners.
We're getting so Warhammer today. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So today's topic is our top 5 ancestries for
Top 5 ancestries.
Yeah, top 5 ancestries. First off, did you play anything last week?
I don't know, man. Time is a lie. I've been moving apartments this entire past week, and I can't think of anything outside of a box. And right now, neither can my cat.
That's fair.
She's in all the boxes.
That's fair. Well, I played a game of the with Oliver, the
Abomination Vault.
Abomination
You guys are running
Vaults,
around in
yeah.
like the deep dungeon. That's like
yeah. So we hit level 2 of Abomination Vaults.
Mhm.
My new friend.
that's underground, right?
Yeah,
I didn't make it that far when I ran it, so I'm excited to hear stories.
Yeah, level 2 is underground. My friend Seth joined our group. Seth is playing Seth is doing that thing where you take a character from one of your favorite IPs,
Sure.
and making it into a D&D character. So I helped them do that, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's,
so like a Bardic Princess Leia.
it's Irithyll. It's Irithyll, the Boreal Valley from Dark Souls 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Dark Souls 3 character.
Nice and edgy.
And we made it. It's badass. It's a swashbuckler. Fucking awesome. We found them in like this science necromancy tube on level 2. It's like a combination of alchemy and necromancy magic.
It's very Mr. Freeze from Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, so that was fucking awesome. Had a great time. It was a rad
So you
game.
guys, by now, you have to have encountered the scary ass poppet that was running around on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later,
Actually,
off
okay.
camera, I want to hear stories about that guy.
That is actually a major. That character is a major plot device because our characters adopted the beak person, and
Mr. Beak?
Mr. Beak is what you're talking about. So our characters basically adopted Mr. Beak and have promised to find Mr. Beak a new body. So
All right, all you goblins out there. If a small wooden boy ever shows up and says, I'd like to be friends with you, you turn around and you run away as fast as you can because he's got a little switchblade hiding in his wooden shorts.
I'm just saying. So Mr. Beak did like this negative energy explosion.
Yes, you did.
But the hilarious thing is Aspen is playing a zombie character. So it healed Aspen's character.
That's awesome.
And then Aspen just like removed their soul stone or whatever and deactivated the robot. And then because of Aspen's
Rather smart for a zombie.
I know. And because of the backstory of their character, there's like this NPC from their backstory, probably completely outside of the realm of the actual adventure path, who's like a scientist engineer, and they're helping us kind of like figure things out on the way while kind of also being a nuisance at the same time.
Sure.
So there's some really cool out of AP RP stuff going on.
Good. That's the stuff I love to hear because
yeah.
like if you just do these pre-written adventures as written and add nothing else, it's just such a lackluster experience for my money.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm kind of the opposite right now, and I keep saying this on all the episodes, but I'll say it again. I really love the fact that I'm playing with a bunch of new players, and I'm experiencing the game as raw as you possibly can. Like, rules as written as you possibly can. Because
yeah.
Oliver's trying to run the game as normal. To me, the experience, like gaining experience in this way, I haven't played a game where you play with experience in years.
It's been a long time for me. I've been milestoning for at least 8 years.
Dude, same. And it's honestly really refreshing.
Yeah.
Like the first 4 sessions, I was like, wait, we only get that much XP?
I know, right?
What?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you look back on it, you level about every 3 sessions, maybe 4. And that's
You're in a super dungeon, so it's got to be hard to do anything other than straight XP. I can't imagine milestoning a super dungeon.
And Oliver's doing a really excellent job giving us XP for doing things that are story driven as well as combat driven.
Sure.
And that really keeps the pace up because, you know, between Natalie and Aspen it's an RP fest.
Yep.
So I'm really happy that Oliver's doing that.
Yeah, I'm very sad to be missing it. One of these days, I'm gonna have to show up and just like sit quietly in a corner.
It's only 2 times a month. It's not that often.
I know, but you know,
I'm just saying you could drop in and they would make a spot for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that you could look at their cute little dog. And I know you're a fan of cute little dogs.
So you mentioned one of them's playing a zombie. Is that an ancestry?
No,
What is a zombie?
a zombie is a what's the name of the thing?
A heritage?
A heritage, yeah.
Yeah.
Zombies are versatile heritages. What we're covering today are ancestries specifically. I want to do another video, another topic about versatile heritages
Yeah.
because
I'm excited about that one too. Having done this exercise, I'm more jazzed about that. Coming up.
absolutely, yeah, because there's so much more when it comes. There's so much more depth when it comes to making decisions to pick from a rules perspective.
Mhm.
It's far more complicated to pick a versatile heritage over an ancestry. The give and take is much more, I want to say, like nuanced. Honestly, a lot of times you're kind of sacrificing viability for flavor, in my opinion, when it comes to versatile heritages, which is totally fine. But you know, if you want to play the game optimally, which isn't very hard, frankly, having a solid ancestry is really, really important.
Yeah.
Now, being the crunch master I am, Crunchmaster 5000. I really focused on spells and I really focused on abilities that ancestries gave you.
Sure.
Obviously, the lore of the game, of the Golorian especially, is really important to me,
Mhm.
and a lot of that came into my top 5, and you'll see that, I think, pretty distinctly. But
So you had a method to your madness as you were putting together your top 5?
I really focused on viability for classes that I like playing, which
So
are
number 1 is your most viable, and number 5 is
number 5 is I'm gonna go from 5 to 1, and number 5 is the Knoll. Actually,
Cool.
I've never played the Knoll.
Before we jump into
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
tell you how I approach my
Oh, yeah,
list, because I think that
absolutely.
will inform a lot of this conversation.
totally.
I thought I knew what my top 5 was going to be going into this,
Mhm.
and I thought, okay, this will be easy. I can just show up and do this off the cuff. And then I started reading all the ancestries. Boy, was I wrong! I was wrong. It is really cool because I think what that did was that showed me the kind of characters I want to play,
Absolutely.
which means I'm not going to spend a lot of wasted time looking for games playing, ancestries that don't really offer the storytelling opportunities I was looking for. So that being said, I did my top 5 as 5, 4, 3 character ancestries that I'm interested in exploring.
Mhm.
I want to explore the stories those ancestries offer. 3, 2, 1 is kind of ancestries I want to see at the table. I want to be a GM telling stories where those ancestries are super relevant.
Mhm.
And that's kind of my 5 through 1.
Okay.
You go first. You're kicking off with the Knoll. One of
Yeah.
my favorites historically. I'd love to hear your reasons.
Yeah. So, real quick, getting back to that idea as ancestries as character, I
Mhm.
think there's a big dichotomy when it comes to player choice. You know, a lot of players like to make their ancestry like to make their ancestry the entirety of their character.
Mhm.
For the most part, they're kind of one note in that sense. I have
Sure.
a kind of notorious character in our party or in our group's
Friend circle
history
thing.
called Ront, who was a classic orc barbarian.
He is a working orc's orc.
He is a working man's orc, yes. And I really love playing single note characters like that. It allows me to really jump into the character and build the flavor much more easily.
Mhm.
And then through the dynamic actions of TTRPGs, a backstory kind of evolves. I really
Sure.
don't like writing a huge backstory for my character before getting into it, and leaning on tropes related to
Sure. I've
ancestries,
seen it.
I think are really actually a strong way to kind of start the foundation of your character and then build out from there.
Yeah. I mean, there are some people like me who like to step into the swimming pool step by step, hand on the rail, and just sort of slowly immerse myself. And then there are other people who just cannonball in the deep end. And there's no wrong way to do it.
Yeah. So I love, as far as background goes, I love the practicality that Knolls bring to the table. From a lore perspective, Knolls have this ruthless practicality
Mhm.
mixed with like this kind of ancestral reverence that is very non-Western. Obviously, they like eat their previous ancestors to gain their power, and to me, that's something that's such a foreign idea to me.
You guys do that in Florida, right?
Yeah. Okay. You're right. You're right. You're right. Right. But I've always wanted to live vicariously through those people. So, so yeah, Knowles just like struck me as like this really interesting take on a classically evil ancestry.
Yeah, they used to be just sort of like one note. You know,
exactly.
we're bad, we're hairy, we're going to enslave you, and we're going to murder everybody who doesn't get enslaved.
Yeah.
And we eat those people. That's kind of historically all Knowles really were. But they're doing magic with Knowles now as an ancestry.
Yeah, no, I really loved what they had to do in the Moangi Expanse book. I still haven't been able to get my hands on the book, but I borrowed it from multiple people at this point. So I've read the entire book in pieces.
Yeah.
I just haven't got my hands on it because it's like, $50-$60.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, I know. Eventually I'll just get all the books gifted to me.
We're going to crowdsource Robert a collection.
Yeah. One day, Patreon money may actually go straight to buying us books. By the way, we have a Patreon and a Discord. So if you're interested in hanging out with us in the community or supporting us, Patreon is a place to be. We've got a bunch of cool options available.
There's activity on both. It's hopping right now. Now's a good time to join.
We got new emojis for our Discord. It's got our faces.
They're freakishly funny.
But getting back to the Knowles, I don't want to have to like verbatim read all of the options here, but 8 base HP, 25 move speed. They get strength and intelligence with a negative to wisdom. Obviously, the ancestry changes mean that you can have ancestry bonuses of whatever you like.
I was wondering how to have that conversation. Yeah, I think it's important to have.
Yeah,
because while the your stat pluses and minus don't define all of an ancestry, it still helps me kind of understand where magnetic north is when I'm thinking about like the ancestry as a whole.
Absolutely. Like the way I like to think about it is if you choose to have, especially if you choose to, if you choose an ancestry that has like a negative to wisdom, like goblins, and then you choose to play a character who has a bonus to wisdom. What I like to think of is that character is couched within an extreme of an extreme.
Sure.
So as I said in a couple comments or something like that, like if you think of a bell curve of individuals, those that are extreme within a group are often the ones that take other make similarly minded choices, like adventuring. Adventuring is crazy. Like if you think about it in the context of,
it's not safe.
It's
like,
not secure. It's like giving everything up and being like an entrepreneur in America or something like that. It's like literally
taking your status quo and chucking it and going
exactly.
That way.
So it actually makes more sense if you apply real world logic.
Careful there.
Yeah, exactly. But it actually makes a lot of sense for people that are extreme within their own bell curve to do other extreme things, generally speaking.
Sure.
Anyway, all that to say, if you're a Knoll with a positive wisdom score, like that's impressive. You really stand out. And
who are you hanging out with as a Knoll with a positive wisdom score?
Exactly. Imagine role playing that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like imagine role playing someone who is outside of their own ability within their own community or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. They get base 8 HP, 25-foot movement speed, plus 2 strength, plus 2 int, with a free boost, and then -2 to wisdom. To me, that just screams some very specific classes. I mean, they make excellent marshals right off the bat. Mm-hmm. They make really good int-based marshals, especially like investigators or
a Knoll investigator.
I'm in. Investigator. Yeah. And I actually have.
Do they get a bite?
They get a bite attack.
That's what I'm talking about.
So yeah, I wrote down a bunch of ancestry feats for all of mine that I think are really cool. Crunch is really strong. It's 1d8, which is a dice higher than what most normal bite attacks are, and it gets grapple. And I didn't look extensively.
That sounds terrifying.
I didn't look extensively, but I'm pretty sure that is fairly rare for a PC class to get because grapple allows you to make allows you to make grapple attempts with your attack, right? So they also get one of their heritages called Great Knoll gives them base 10 HP, so 2 HP higher, and +2 to trip and shove attempts. Now, if you know anything about action economy, something that we're going to be going over in one of our future videos, having actions out to do outside of attacking or applying debuffs to your opponents is incredibly important when it comes to game balance. And tripping is one of the best uses of your like one of the best actions you can do, because it applies both flat-footed, prone, to the person, and they have to spend an action to stand up. So tripping is an incredibly strong strategy.
It's amazing. We've both seen it in action in both of our games as players and GMs. It's a great leveler of the playing field.
Absolutely. They have the option to get a scent, like a smelling sense. I think that scent is underrated. That's my hot take.
Sure.
I think of the week is that scents are overrated. Natalie is playing
Over or underrated?
They're more valuable than people give them credit for.
There you go. Yeah, it's
Yes.
underrated.
Underrated. Thank you. Words are hard, and I'm bad at English.
And it's late.
And it's late. Yeah. So I've been seeing Natalie use scent in our games, and it's abusive. It's not abusive, but it's like it's really strong. Is what I'm trying to say.
We're such visual creatures as human beings that we tend to just, especially in like a role playing context, playing games. We just heavily, overly rely on it. And, there's feats out there like, what is that? Immaculate Taster feat that will never see the light of day in a standard game, a Pathfinder. You kind of have to write to that.
Exactly.
Which is what I think GM should be doing more of. So I really like this idea of the Knoll with a different scent and intelligence based and the whole ancestral worship or, kind of like keeping your ancestors with you by consuming them. There's a lot there that's above and beyond. I wait for things to die and go crunch their bones with my strong jaws. So that's a good choice. The Knoll was in my it was like number 7 or 8 on my list, so I had to cut it. Yeah,
the last one I wrote down was Ancestors Rage. I can't really remember what it does, but I wrote it can be very useful for non-casters to engage or casters to escape. Oh, I remember now. It allows you to use animal form. It's a higher level ability, but it's like
a wild shape kind of animal form?
Like wild shape, like form of the animal. That's like spell. And it's a pretty high level version of it too. I looked at what it allows you to be, and the forms give you incredible speed. So it says canines only or something like that. But the options it gives you are very fast. So it allows you to close a gap if you need to close a gap and you just need speed to do something, and then you can turn right out of it. Or more importantly, you can use those animal forms to escape combats when things are going south.
Is this something they had in first edition, or is this a brand damn new thing? Because I've never heard of this before.
I've never played an all-in-one-y.
There's also that.
Yeah. It's a really cool ability, and I was really surprised. There's a couple niche spells, like once per day spells that a lot of these ancestries get that are like,
yeah.
This is fucking
I dig them. I really, really do. Yeah. All right, cool. My turn. Number 5. Leshy.
Okay.
Right. So I feel like my list is going to be predictable. If you don't know what's on my list, you're going to every time it comes out of my mouth.
Okay.
Of course he picked that.
Okay.
So
that sounds like something Alex would say, actually.
Yeah. So one of the ways I wanted to approach my top 5 here is sort of like the kinds of stories that ancestral choices open up. There are certain ancestries that have just sort of almost like hard-coded thematic content to go with it. And as a player, I really want to experience some of that. As a GM, I really want to bring that out in other characters playing that ancestry. So with the Leshy, they've got a con, a whiz plus, so wisdom and constitution. They're hardy little buggers.
Yeah.
And, wisdom, it makes sense. The changing of the seasons, their feet is on the ground. They have a strong connection to the natural world. Not Fae. Fae have nothing to do with Leshies, but they're strongly, like almost druidic and natural. So that wisdom makes sense. And of course, intelligence is their ancestral, what do you call it? Down stat.
Yeah.
They get a -1 or
-2. Yeah.
What's the reverse of a stat boost? Stat drain?
Ability flaw.
Ability flaw. There you go. So again, we're sort of like in opposed to that world, but that kind of fleshes them out in my head. Leshies have really strong thematic content of memory, of the idea of what is a soul and what isn't a soul. Because when Leshies die, they don't go to the alignment plane that their lawful good alignment or whatever their alignment is they don't play by the rules that everybody else has to play by when they die and go into their afterlife. So they had this spirit spark, but it's not a soul. So what is it? There's some real good questions about like questions of identity. Who am I? What am I? Why am I not like everybody else? Where do I go when I die? These are really strong, kind of cool character questions that a GM can pull out. So memory, questions about the soul, and I really like how the Leshies kind of fill this really interesting slot in I don't know what you want to call it, like monster slots throughout the world and the kind of stories they provide, where they can help you tell natural stories while leaving the Fae out of it. The natural world and the Fae have always been so inextricably entwined in my brain throughout D&D, Pathfinder, and every other game I've ever played. And it's probably because it's such a low-hanging, easy fruit to reach for in a game. So having these guys be like, no, we're not going to talk about redcaps and banshees and nixies. This is strictly trees, ents, that sort of thing. I dig it. So Leshies are they're spirits of the natural world that you can't tell Leshy stories with any other ancestry.
Absolutely.
They're specifically Leshy stories.
Except for the new one that they introduced that's also Leshies, but not Leshies. Sexy Leshies.
Sexy Leshies? What am I
You
missing?
didn't know about sexy Leshies?
I feel like I should.
Oh my God. All right. Is
this something I can look up on the screen at work?
It's in this book right now. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it just came out.
Okay.
But yeah, no, sexy Leshies is kind of weird. But no, they're like more humanoid plant people that are distinctly not Leshies, but still.
Oh, you're talking about the oh God, what are they called? The Gora? The Goma?
Gore, yeah.
The ones that everybody used to eat.
Gorin, yeah.
Yeah, they were created by a druid to solve a food problem
Gorin.
way back in the day. I know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
You actually met one in Edgewatch.
Oh, that's right.
That's what she is, exactly,
Yeah.
And they're super tasty, and people hunt them down to eat them.
Which is like fucking terrifying.
It's terrifying,
Yeah,
right?
like
when you're, a sentient race and you learn that you're lower on the food chain than the guy who delivers your morning paper. That's tricky. So that's my number 5, Leshies.
My number 4 is the classic elf.
This has got to be for mechanics reasons. Am I wrong?
They're very strong mechanics.
They're super strong mechanically.
Yeah, they're very they're really cool. They have they're very unique. They're one of the fastest ancestries.
Mm-hmm.
They're base 30.
Yeah.
They start with
make them a monk and forget about it.
Yeah, they start with low light vision. They can go to dark vision if they want.
Yep.
They get dex int and negative con though. So in my opinion, they're probably one of the best benefactors of this change than ever before.
Yeah.
Because it's always been really hard for me to justify playing a frontline fighter role for an elf until now.
Which is funny because in like Lord of the Rings, you see them all over the place.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and I think thematically in hero stories, especially, they overvalue the power of dexterity and the power of being able to dodge and being nimble. Where within the confines of a game, often dexterity, specifically as a stat, is just given too much power. I mean, we can see that. That's as clear as day when we look at the perception changes. Like. Initiative used to be based off your dexterity, now it's based off of wisdom. Effectively,
yeah, you're right.
Right. So they've been slowly but surely trying to pull power from dexterity because it's been so notoriously powerful in previous editions. So with all that to say, they still have some bonkers good ancestry abilities. Like, first of all, Ancient Elf. Okay, it
always comes back to Ancient Elf. Yep.
Ancient Elf is either amazing or a trap, and here's why. If you're playing in a group with free
boosts,
free archetypes at level 2 and forward, and it's literally a trap because you pick up an archetype and then you don't have any options for the free level 2 archetype you get next level.
Okay.
So unless your DM hand waves it and lets you pick 2 archetypes at the beginning, 2 dedication feats at the beginning, you're locked into that dedication for 2 feats, but you can't use any ability. You can't pick another feat from it because there's only ever one level 2 archetype feat for every archetype. So
what is this archetype you're referring to?
So Ancient Elf allows you to basically pick a free archetype feat at level 1.
Okay.
And
just any archetype feat out there?
I think it's only the base ones, not like the multi-class archetype feats and not the regular archetype feats.
Okay.
But even still, if you're playing at a game where you get a free archetype feat at 2nd and 4th and every their level, like we do in all of our games, if you do that, when you hit 2nd level, you have nothing to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So you're effectively spending this heritage to get access to a thing 1 level earlier from levels 1 to 2, which is, in my opinion, a complete and total waste.
Yeah, your GM needs to hand wave that.
Yeah, so your GM either needs to hand wave it or just pick something else, because other heritages are actually really good too. But if you're not playing in that, it's actually really good, because getting that feat level 1 can open you up to being expert in things. Not expert in things, actually, specifically not expert in things, but open you up to other archetype possibilities way before everyone else. And I think that's really strong. Seer Elf is also really good. That's another heritage. It allows you to basically cast Detect Magic, and it makes you even better at perception checks, especially for secret doors and stuff. So if you're doing like a dungeon crawl and you're playing, let's say, a non-caster, that would be really awesome, because it makes you really good at seeing things, which is important, and especially in a dungeon crawl. Let's see here. Ancestral linguistics is fucking awesome. You can just decide to know any language at the beginning of every day, which is obviously just a spell you can get later. Mm-hmm. But to have that at level 1 opens up so many possibilities for you and your DM. Like, your DM can just be like, oh, that means I can just throw any ancient language into a hint somewhere and they'll be able to read it. How cool is that?
Like, historically speaking, Robert the player, not Robert the GM, how important has language selection been in your previous games, campaigns, one-offs, whatever?
Well, because I play with you, it's incredibly important all the time.
I mean, I'm kind of, I'm leading you around by the nose with this, but like, take me out of the picture and all your previous experiences with that. Doesn't everybody just kind of like assume everything's in common unless it's not? And if it's not, it's really not that important?
Actually, the opposite. It's everyone assumes you speak common, but if you can speak a second language, you're heavily, you're given heavy bonuses for it. So traditionally in my games, if I'm doing, and when I say my games, I mean games I played. If I'm interacting with someone and they are the same ancestry of me, or not even the same ancestry of me, and I meet them and I can speak their tongue, their language instead of the common language, you get huge bonuses for that, because it's a familiarity.
I think it should be that way. I just haven't experienced that as a player going all the way back.
And also, there's a lot of times it's like you're in a dungeon and there's the writings of a mad wizard and it's always in Draconian. You know what I mean?
It's almost like,
so it's like there are these
language choice is almost like a predetermined thing based on how much of an impact you want to have on the typical game.
Exactly.
And that's frustrating for me, because it takes the magic away from the character build at the front end. Like, if my character wants to be fluent in some language that only like 12 people speak in the world, and then an opportunity to get into that never shows up anywhere in the game, that's just yet another missed opportunity on the pile of missed opportunities based on character choices. Anyhow, I was just curious about that, because that, you're right, that first level ability, that's a big one. I just wonder how like impactful that would be from table to table to table.
What's cool about it is I think that when it is impactful, a lot of times what'll happen, especially in my experience, is you'll be the character or person who has a bunch of languages, and even then, when a special language does come up, your special languages aren't applicable, and that sucks. So being able to be like, all right, give me a day, and you come back in a day and you're like, I speak Aquan now. What up, motherfuckers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just rad. It's just a cool thing to be able to do.
It's feel good. Yeah.
It's feel good.
I'm there for the feel good.
And so the next one is Nimble Elf. 30 feet is pretty fast, right?
What about faster than I can move?
What about 35 feet?
That's literally 5 more.
Insane.
Yeah.
35 is at 35. You can begin.
And you're not even a monk at that point, right?
Exactly. So you can play a monk. You can play a barbarian. You can play.
This is like Dark Sun elf territory. That's what they did. They ran across the sand dunes and that's it. See you later.
So what you can do with speeds this fast. So 35 is almost faster than pretty much any
Mhm.
typical monster in the book. So you can do real shenanigans at this point where
Sure.
you move in, attack, and move out.
Yep.
And they can't even move to catch you unless
Mhm.
they spend 2 actions.
Mhm.
And denying your opponent actions is powerful.
Yep.
Repeat after me,
Action
goblins.
economy.
Denying your opponent's actions is powerful. All right. One more time. Denying actions is powerful. All right. It's like a core concept of the game
Yep.
that we're going to be going over in a
So
future
remember, if nothing else, deny.
video. Deny. So yeah, like having movement speed shenanigans is really strong. Oh, and then they get Elven Instincts, which is just at level 5 a free version. It's an Ancestry feat version of improved initiative.
They move fast all the time.
Yeah.
That's
and then
kinda-
they can get a +2 circumstance bonus to initiative because, why not? Oh, and then they have a step ability. Basically, I think they get like an ancestry feat that allows them to no, they get at level 9 they get elf step, which is double step. So you do the step action effectively twice for 1 action, which is really good.
Yep.
Because a lot of times when you step, enemies can follow you with that same action.
Yeah.
But if you double step, they have to often choose to make a move action,
Yeah.
which creates opportunities for AOs and stuff like that.
Yeah, goblins have something similar to that I had in my last character from 2 weeks ago, and I was waiting to use it, and
Goblin
it never came
scuttle.
up.
Really?
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to like move by my character, and I was going to be like, "Hey, watch what you're doing," and like move my guy 1 square, not on my turn.
Yeah.
Never came up.
Yeah. It's honestly moving out of your turn is
Taking
really,
that step is
really
everything
powerful.
when you need it.
It's really powerful.
Yeah, especially in a dungeon crawl, which is what you're in. So I can see that.
Yeah.
Anything else about elves before we move on?
I'm playing an elf right now in
Mhm.
my Abomination Vaults game.
Okay.
So I love being able to play a character who is super old
Mhm.
because it allows me to just fill their life with random crap. I love going on a diatribe and just being like, yeah, I was like, sitting on the coast of blah, 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 having peaches and pears. And I met this one person who told me about this and blah, blah, blah. Like my character is like, we're in this town called Otari, I think.
Mhm.
And the town is only 500 years old. And I'm like 400 some odd years old. So
Back
I'm
in
like,
my day, there weren't even people.
yeah, like the mayor I was alive for hundreds of years when the mayor of the town I'm in is born. So when he tells me to do stuff, my character just looks at him like, excuse me, sir.
So yeah,
Just ignores him.
that's a whole another discussion.
I love playing that character.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Very, very nice. All right. So what is that? Number 4?
Yeah.
All right. Number 4. I don't really dig on the common ancestries too much, so
That's
I'm
cool.
full of uncommon and rarities today. I'm moving on to my little favorite rat man, the Isaki. So, hey, Mr.
The
I love
isekai.
Warhammer, and I talk about Warhammer all day long. I'm going to talk about Skaven.
Okay.
I love Skaven going all the way back. A buddy of mine actually had a cool like Clan Eshin Skaven
That's
assassin tattoo, and that started my my love affair with these guys. So they have a Dex and Intelligence. That's their bump, and their decrease is Strength, I believe. Yeah, Strength. So that's fine. Those are just numbers. What I like about them, again, the themes, the stories you can tell. I got to stop calling him Skaven at this point.
You can go
The
Skaven all you
Isaki,
want.
the rat men. They touch on themes that other ancestries can do, sure, but the Isaki just exemplifies that experience. So, like, if you're talking about a family caravan, we think of Roma in Earth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are certain experiences that are just consolidate and crystallize around a particular a group or ancestry, and to use Pathfinder's terms. So for Isaki, they're really big on family, and of course they are. I mean, you look at them and you go, "Oh my God, there's 12 were-rats coming right at me," and they're like, "We just want to sell you some stuff," and you're like, "I don't want to get bit and turn into a were-rat." So there's a just like how they look affects how their entire culture is basically. So they're super family oriented. They cluster. They have each other's backs because nobody else will. You don't have that with dwarves, with elves, with humans, with gnomes. You don't have them with any of the common ancestries the way you do with these guys.
I think the closest analogy would be halflings.
Maybe, but even they can just walk around in any settlement.
That's
and
absolutely true.
Not nobody really bats an eye. They're like, oh, okay, you're a short shit.
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah. Place your order. I'm here to serve you. But
Yeah.
like if a bunch of rat men come into town, immediately people are going to be like, lock up your women, lock up your kids, lock up your house. It's the Isaki. They just their very appearance seems to invite trouble. So as a result, they're insular. They tend to turn inward in that sense, but they're super traders. Traders. They like trade. They sell things. That's kind of how
They
they're
are
built.
mercantile.
They're mercantile. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's kind of their thing. So they have to go to people. What that does is that creates an entire ancestry who that place a cultural importance on crossroads. Wherever major roads in a civilization appear, you're going to find Isaki trinket sellers and, corner stores and stuff like that. If you just think of a map on any fantasy game you've ever played and you see where like the kingdom of X and then there's the kingdom of Y and there's a road that goes between them. The kingdom of Z is over here and they've got a road right in the middle. You're going to find these guys. It's almost like, all right, we're coming up on that point. You know what we're going to see. Come on, kids. Let's get out for a pee and we're going to buy some beef jerky from the Rat Man. And then we'll get back in the wagon and keep going.
Okay.
It's,
gotcha.
I love that.
And you want to play a character who's from that culture?
Mm-hmm. What's that?
You want to play a character who's from that culture?
Yeah. Well, specifically, yeah, the Isaki.
There's a
family, tinkers, and crossroads are kind of their sort of like holy trinity of themes.
I think every player tends to play a collection of ideas and tropes that they just go back to. That one of the things they love doing is playing into these tropes. One of the tropes you love playing is this merchant who's trying to make deals and crafty his way up the ladder of the world, if you will.
Okay.
And I've seen you play.
I was unaware.
I've seen you play a merchant character like twice now. So I don't know. I just thought I'd point it out. It kind of tracks with.
I got to think on that because
the worldview.
I mean, what you're saying, it makes sense to my brain. I just didn't know I was like consciously doing that.
Remember when we played the generic fantasy game that is on its 5th edition with Mike?
Yeah. From the company that should not be named.
Yeah. You were playing a Dro.
Okay,
trader
he was
person.
Absolutely the Jade Widow Trading Society.
Yeah. And then I think in another game you played another person that's a part of a trading society. I don't remember exactly where, but that's the big one that sticks out to my mind. Okay. And that when I met you and you played that class, it kind of created this like that was an archetypal pillar of kinds of characters Erik really likes playing.
Yeah,
in my mind.
He was definitely the outsider.
He had so much fun playing it too.
It really was.
Yeah,
I'd like to talk about games that we played in detail on some future podcasts. I think that would be rad. So yeah, Isaki is my number 4. I think we're going really slow through this list.
Nah, that's cool. Whatever.
Okay, what's your number 3 at this
Numero
point?
tres.
We are halfway through this list.
Orcs
ish. Okay,
I love orcs.
Talk to me about orcs.
Ront the barbarian was an orc.
He was?
I love orcs because they just have like this I don't know. This is
monosyllabic enthusiasm.
Well, what I like what they've done with them in Pathfinder is they've added a lot of reasons to a lot of reasons why they exist in the context of the world that they have now. Like they were forced out through war and strife from the Darklands up by the dwarves. Yeah. And eventually ended up for a short period of time, like for a lengthy period of time, like conquering the world. And what I find interesting about them is that a lot of popular culture, like Warhammer, for instance, likes to make orcs out as being unintelligent, which to me is like really weird because they had these huge empires, especially within the context of Glorian, but often within the context of other with other things. They organize these huge societies. They have huge political turmoil and stuff like that. That's often depicted as fierce, but cunning. And cunning comes with its own intelligence. Like that's,
they have to be because
exactly.
Everybody else in their community is also strong.
So when you look at the history of orcs in Glorian, it's so fucking cool to me because it's this constant struggle, in my opinion, an underdog struggle between them and dwarves. And
Going all the way back. Yeah.
Going all the way back. And they have this weird clash between infighting, where they have like it's almost like they're depicted as having like an insatiable hunger for hierarchy, effectively. And that is to their downfall. And in some ways you could say that that's kind of like a parable for man itself, you know,
Sure.
like eating itself from the inside. But more recently, with the rise of the Hobgoblin Nation and the history that orcs have with Tarbophon, they just have so much depth. And they've given them so many options to show that depth.
Yeah. And depending on where you point on the map, you're going to find different kinds of orcs, just like you'll find different kinds of dwarves,
There's
different
like
kinds of elves.
8 heritages.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, because normally
that was super nicely done.
Normally orcs are like a 3rd tier ancestry, like for in other games.
Yeah,
you
they're
know
like a
what I mean?
monoculture and other
Exactly.
TTRPGs.
Yeah, in generic TTRPGs that shall not be named. But yeah, so like, and then
you on that list?
And then of course they did them fucking justice when it comes to rules. Holy shit! I have an entire.
I haven't actually read the orc rules. What do you got?
This is an entire page of badassery.
Oh boy, we're gonna be here a while.
So orcs make the best, some of the best. They always have. They make some of the best martial characters in the game, right? As they should, because they're supposed to be big, beefy boys.
I'm guessing they have strength, con, and charisma.
I got my orcs right here. They're actually fixed strength and afloat. They have no negatives and no positives.
That's right. Some of these only have the 2 instead of the 3.
Yeah, so they're fixed strength and afloat, which is awesome. They have base 10 HP, 25-foot move speed, and
there it is.
And dark vision. Dark vision base on an ancestry is powerful.
Yeah,
and in my opinion, the great people at Paizo don't do a very good job making. Okay, so every ancestry that has low light vision has an ability to get dark vision by spending their heritage.
I've noticed
or that. Often it's a heritage, if not a level 1 ancestry feat. In my opinion, the creators don't do a very good job, because it's incredibly difficult to do that and still have fun, to make all of the other options less powerful, to balance that out, basically. Because if you give someone dark vision, it's like you're giving them a free ancestry feat.
Okay.
Right. So almost all the ancestries with dark vision base are just more powerful, in my opinion, than all the other ones. They're not more powerful, but they have a leg up in that sense.
Okay.
Because dark vision is incredibly powerful, especially if you have a party full of dark vision seers.
Yeah.
If you have a party full of dark vision seers and you go into combats completely lights out, it's game changing, especially when you're going up against other classic humanoids in like a city setting. It's like,
you want to wreck your GM's adventure and campaign in general, be a bunch of dark vision people and only adventure at night.
Go fucking full spec ops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fucking,
gunslinger and inventors and
night
everybody's
vision
a dwarf or an
goggle
orc.
motherfuckers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to burn through this.
Burn it.
Orcs have
like an orc.
Orcs have 2 or 3 major abilities, ancestry feats, kind of chains that make them powerful. Unfortunately, you can't take all of them, or I would. One of the build trees is basically the Orc War Mask. It gives you like a cantrip and some ancillary bonuses at first level, but later on you get access to once a day True Strike on a martial character.
Okay, that's not nothing.
Who has a focus, oftentimes has a focus on critting. True Strike, roll with advantage, basically. Roll 2, pick the better.
To the front of the line.
Let's see here. Hold Scarred, 12. Oh, yeah. So one of their heritages is Hold Scarred, base 12 HP, so 2 more HP, and they get Die Hard, so they're nigh invincible. Battle Ready is a intimidation focused heritage, I think, or no, it's an ancestry feat that basically gives them intimidate for free and gives them the scary eyes feat, so they don't have to speak,
so you don't have to talk. Yeah,
and that builds really into one of the major build categories for most martials is using intimidate powerfully, because it doesn't have the attack trait, and it does debuffs that often affect AC.
And we all know how many orcs have charisma bonuses.
Well,
so that's got to be tough.
Well, not necessarily. Like, it's easy to build into those charisma bonuses, especially when you get all these other flat bonuses on top of it.
Mhm.
So they make for really good intimidators, like battlefield intimidators. There was a lot of martial classes that have special abilities linked to intimidation. So it's a major archetype of martial build character, and a lot of these abilities really, really exacerbate that build archetype. So if you're thinking of playing an intimidate fighter,
And you really want to stink eye your way around the battlefield.
orc is the way to go. Orc ferocity is nuts.
Sounds good.
It's nuts. It's a classic ability that all orcs used to have, but because they broken everything up, obviously they had to make an ancestry feat. Basically, once per day, if you would go down to 0, instead you go down to 1, and you get the wounded or the wounded condition or whatever. Which is insane because effectively you're negating HP. If you're riding at 1 HP already and you get hit with a crit, basically you've negated all of that crit damage. All of the damage between 0 and what it would have been is negated, right? Because and you're still up, so you can retreat from the fight, you can engage with the fight, you can reorganize yourself. Really powerful. Later on, I won't go over all the feats, but like I said, wrote down a page. Later on, defy death. Basically basically builds on orc ferocity and makes it more common, like once per hour instead of once per day. It allows you to get your HP back based on your level. A bunch of cool stuff. The other one is the orc mask. One of the greatest feats I've seen is basically when you successfully do an intimidation, you deal like 2d6 damage on a success to your opponent.
Okay.
Just by doing
That's
an
great at
intimidation.
low levels.
No, it's great at all levels. Honestly, like 2d6 free damage for a non-attack trait ability is really powerful. If you crit, you do 4d6, which is nuts. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, so weapon familiarity, uncommon weapon familiarity is often not that great, because a lot of the weapons, excluding like gnome flick maces, aren't that awesome, frankly. The orc weapons are badass. They get access to a great axe that's just a better great axe. It's a D12 great axe with like forceful and sweep, and then they get access to a one-handed D8 weapon that's also like really dope. And I can see it being used in like a niche build where there's a lot of martial classes that get abilities where they can make 2 attacks using the same base attack bonus. Wow, I'm really dating myself. Using the same multiple attack penalty bonus. And this weapon has like deal extra damage when you're attacking someone different, and get a circumstance bonus to hit when you hit someone different. So combining those two, I think there's like a little niche build in here, melee build in here that can be made that could be really powerful. So
sounds spreadsheety.
They're very good marshals, very, very good marshals, or charisma based intimidators. And those don't necessarily have to be martial. So yeah, they're awesome in combat. They're awesome out of combat. They have a bunch of flavor in the game. They're fucking rad. And I want to see like an Iron Fang invasion, but based on orcs as an adventure path. That would be cool.
Okay. Cool. 3 of 5. Have you ever wanted tattoos on your fuzzy butt? Have you ever wanted to create webs in trees and swing from them? Have you ever wanted 6 to 8?
Oh
8?
my God.
Yeah, 8 furry legs.
No.
You might want to be in a naughty. So this is it's a rare race at this point. So you need extra special permissions from your GM if you want this. A nadi. So they're sort of Africanized spider people. They look like were spiders. Their natural forms are like medium-sized spiders, and they freak people out. So they learn how to turn into people, medium-sized, like humans or elves or dwarves or whatever. And that's kind of what they do. So they live in the deep jungle. They've got dexterity boost, wisdom boost, but a con drop historically. Obviously, that doesn't matter anymore for PC builds, but that's kind of what they are. So why do I like Anadi? Number one, you can change shape between being a giant spider and a regular person.
Okay, that's pretty badass.
And you get to like run around in the tops of trees, and you get to do sticky things. It's just, I've always been a fan of werewolf stories and just sort of stories that are based on the nature of change and changing natures. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and other stories. So these guys appeal to me. They change shape. It's an action. You can do it. They've got fangs that they can bite for D6. The traits they have associated with that are brawling, finesse, and unarmored. I'm sure there's lots of cool little things that you can use that to manipulate magic items with. I don't know if you can wrap that monk wrap around your fangs or not, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe they have COVID masks and they can bite through them. You don't know. So, Anadi, let's see. Themes, because I'm big on the themes for all of these. All of these are important, and they have distinctive stories that only they can really tell. They're conflict averse. They're not pacifists. They just don't like conflict. They don't enjoy it. It makes them feel weird, so they don't go looking for it. But when people look at them, they freak the fuck out, frankly. And so the Anadi kind of go, "I'm sorry," and they scurry for cover. They don't want to be hunted to extinction. It's a problem when you look like a man-sized spider and everybody else wants to put their boot to your butt. So conflict averse, mutual care is really big in their society. So, united we stand, divided we fall kind of thing. You're sick, I come over and help. These are basic tenets of a naughty community. And if you can imagine stories that build up around that, sure, dwarves have clans and they have strong family ties, but not like this. This is like, if we don't do this, we will go extinct. If dwarves don't do that, then they'll just be humans. I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts on that. But they also believe in playful trickery. And that's where the fun stuff really starts.
Okay, here we go.
So playful trickery. They teach their young naughty offspring how to be clever, how to survive, how to work around other people's, shortcomings and whatnot. So playful trickery with a sense of community and the like instinctual compulsive ancestral need to help each other. Imagine stories based on that. It's not everybody holding hands singing Kumbaya. It's we're responsible for each other's survival and we need to go out there into the world for goods, for magical aid, for, whatever. The stakes are very different if you're an Anadi running around.
Yeah.
As opposed to, boring ass dwarf, human, gnome, halfling, the common races, excluding goblins, of course. I want to make that clear.
Absolutely.
So number 3, I don't even care what their feet are, what they have access to. It'll come up at some point. It's sort of ancillary for me.
Yeah.
I just want to tell certain stories. I want to tell certain stories as a GM, and I want to be a part of certain stories as a player. And that's really a front burner concern of mine. When I look at all of these, how many ancestries do we have to choose from?
Too many.
A couple of dozen at this
Not
point?
too many.
Maybe almost that many?
It's honestly like, I want to say 30.
Whatever the number is, it's a lot. And I don't know about you, but I'm probably not going to play that many games before I die. Yeah. So I got to be careful with my ancestral choices as long as I'm playing Pathfinder.
Ironically, I didn't really dip my toes into the rare ancestries.
They're really weird.
For a number of reasons. Yeah. One, I couldn't, most of them, except like maybe the skeleton, I would find even role playing to begin with. I have no frame of thought reference at all. Yep. And it just doesn't sound like that much fun.
Yeah. Going in blind, I can't imagine any of them would be fun.
Yeah. And like the other thing is, because of the way the mechanics are built, the uncommon ancestries and the common ones, the core ones, they're pretty much the same power level, effectively. Some of them are even, I would argue, worse. But the rare ancestries are truly a step above in power level. So comparing them from more...
I haven't done a comparison between the three.
Yeah, comparing them from more like a mechanics lens, in my opinion, just isn't very, very fair. But really, it's at the end of the day, it's a combination of it's hard to compare them, but also none of them really just inspired me that much.
Yeah.
It's probably due to my lack of familiarity with them and like the themes within them. So I think it's awesome that like you found these themes that really resonate with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun to like go through all of the rare ancestries and like just have a conversation about what the hell do we even do with these in a story, in an adventure.
Let's make an episode about it.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'm in.
Yeah.
So number 3, the spider people of the Mwangi Expanse, Anadi. Oh, and also one more thing before I move on.
Absolutely.
My favorite deity in all of Pathfinder is Grandmother Spider.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to leave that there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that is
two,
a
Robert.
Cool ancestry. Or it's the dwarf.
It's the dwarf. You've got orcs and dwarves back to back. Is that
Back
even
to back.
allowed?
It is.
Who authorized this? This is madness.
They're so linked to each other.
Yeah.
And-
I have a recent appreciation for dwarves, so I yield the floor to the senator from Florida.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. 10 HP base, dark vision. They get con whiz and negatives to charisma.
Mm-hmm. Surprise.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
We already covered that. Yep.
Yeah. I really love dwarves because they make for really excellent frontline fighters. Are you noticing a theme? But at the same time, their wisdom and con bonuses make them incredible wisdom-based casters.
Mm-hmm.
We only have
For sure.
two. We only have two wisdom-based casters in the whole game. The fucking cleric and the druid.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only wisdom-based casters we have in the entire game. Actually, now that I think about it, oh, that's absolutely true. But now that I think about it, I think they're the only. Those are the only classes whose mental stat is a key ability score as well. Okay. I could be wrong on that one. I feel like I'm missing something. Something's escaping my mind. Most of the mental ability stat marshals are int or charisma. Mm-hmm. Wisdom doesn't have a lot of debuffs that they can do. But anyway,
I haven't played a ranger in PF2E. Is that
their strength or dexterity based?
Okay.
Yeah,
wow. Wisdom used to be a historical thing with rangers.
Yeah, well, the game design space has moved away from being what they used to call MAD, multiple attribute dependent, and now the game is specifically designed to be SAD, which is a single attribute dependency.
Yeah, until you're like a Magus or something.
Maguses are strength. Actually, Maguses are based on strength and or dexterity. Their key abilities are strength or dexterity. Thaumaturge, however, is one of the only classes, along with like the alchemist, arguably, who is a little bit mad.
Yeah.
Thaumaturge is seriously mad.
That's a whole other conversation. All that,
and the inventor.
Yeah.
But like the inventor and the thaumaturge and all those classes that we'll talk about in a video in the future, like when you compare them to something like the investigator, who just gets their intelligence to hit and damage basically. There's a stark contrast in the amount of ability scores that they have to invest in and how they're balanced in combat.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the dwarves. They have Ancient Blooded, which is a reaction that gives them it's a reaction that basically gives them bonuses to checks, which is really powerful because a lot of classes don't have access to reactions that are good.
Right. I've noticed that.
One of the really important things about this game from a mechanic perspective in combat is using all of your actions all the time. So if you're able to give yourself a way to use your reaction more reliably, something that's underutilized, it'll just give you that much more edge in combat.
It's a way to break the action economy in your favor.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's really good. Unburdened Iron is one of my favorite kind of feats in the entire game because of the way that works mechanically. Effectively, their base speed is only 20 feet, but with Unburdened Iron, you can take heavy. You can basically take heavy armor, and if you have the ample strength for it, you don't take any penalties to movement speed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Heavy armor. Yeah. So
is it still noisy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, but you'll pick up like a dwarf can move the same speed as most other ancestries by picking up the general feat fleet and then taking Unburdened Iron, and they're in full plate walking at 25, which is actually pretty awesome and pretty rare.
Really awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really cool and it's really thematic to their ancestry. They also get like stupid buffs to they get stupid good buffs to crafting. Like half of their ancestry stuff is dedicated to crafting. And it's one of those things. If you're in a game that has a lot of downtime and the DM likes the player's crafting stuff or doing downtime activities, then it's really strong. If you're not, then half of their ancestry feats are practically useless.
Right. What are all the language choices you made for your character again?
Exactly.
GMs, please be taking notes.
Exactly.
Character choices matter.
Character choices matter. And the other thing is that because of the Sky Citadel in Alkenstar and two others technically, but mainly the Alkenstar one, Dogenhold, I think is the name of it.
Dungenhold.
I think they made an adventure path for that recently, didn't they?
Oh yeah, Outlaws of Alkenstar.
No, they made another one specifically for dwarves. It's like a dwarf specific one.
It's coming out later this year. Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
cool.
High Helm one. It's
High
sort of
Helm,
like
yeah,
New
yeah.
York City for dwarves.
Yeah. So they get they get access instead of to clan daggers, they get access to clan guns,
That's so cool. I
which
love it.
is like fucking
Yep.
rad in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
Like if anyone's gonna wield guns, it's dwarves. I
Yeah.
mean, going back to my World of Warcraft days,
Uh-huh.
like guns and dwarves just go
Yeah.
together like peas and pods.
Yep.
So I love that part of the fantasy, and they're one of the very few ancestries. I think they might be the actual only one. Now that I think about it, that gets these ancestral access to guns and gears, which is really cool and unique.
Yep. That's kind of their jam. That's their thing.
Yeah.
Elves live a long time and make snide comments at mayors, and dwarves get guns. That's a good trade.
Yeah. So yeah, dwarves are rad. I love playing ancestries that can live for a long time. Dwarves can live for a decently long time.
It changes the story.
Yeah.
Changes the stakes.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just love that. I think that's awesome. Yeah.
All right. We are moving on to number 2. And this is the part of the episode where I duck for cover because you're going to start throwing things at me.
Okay.
Poppet.
Oh.
Pinocchio. Yep.
How did I not see this coming?
Yeah. Now, again, this isn't a mechanical thing for me.
Eric has been
I don't
begging
show
me
up to the gaming table
to run a
because
game
I want to min-max a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet.
where
If
you
I
can
wanted
play
to
a
do that,
puppet.
I would go to my 300 plus board game collection and do that. Instead, I want stories that I can't get from my board game collection.
Yeah.
So all that being said, poppets, what do I like about them? What are they? If you don't know what a poppet is, it's basically like an animated doll. Think Chucky from Child's Play. Think Pinocchio. Think Toy Story. It doesn't have to be like kind of Disney goofy.
Yeah,
it can be
fucking
scary as
Chucky,
hell.
bro. Like
An 18-inch tall clown that runs out from under your bed, crawls up your chest, and then like spits in your face. That's terrifying.
That's
so there's a lot of
terrifying.
ways to use poppets in meaningful ways. All of that being said, they let's see, they have a con bonus, they have a charisma bonus.
Mhm.
Okay, yay. Their negative is what is their negative? Oh, dexterity for some reason.
That's
Apparently they trip
bizarre.
over their own wooden shoelaces.
Well,
I don't know.
actually that makes a lot of sense given the context of like
Maybe they don't want to break.
yeah, maybe they're like their souls are trapped in this vessel and they're not used to handling the vessel like dexterously.
Ooh, oh my God. There's lots of transhumanism going on in that
Exactly.
statement there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. So yeah, poppets. They're flammable.
Yeah, they're flammable. That's right.
They take damage, and if it's fire
Oh, my
damage, they
God.
take another 33%.
I love it so much.
So just keep them away from the mantle.
Oh,
That's
man.
it's that easy. What else? They're constructed, which means they get a +1 to saves for death, disease, poison, drain, paralysis, sickened conditions. They're resilient little buggers, which, you know, if you're into that sort of thing, is pretty cool. What else can they do? Okay, so themes again. Hi, I'm Erik. I'm the theme guy. They're created. They're Frankenstein's monster.
Mhm.
They want to go pet the little girl on the head and give her a flower, and then all the dads run with their pitchforks and torches and chase them out of the city.
Mhm.
There's themes of alienation, of I am created but I am not like them. I am alive but I'm not alive in the way everybody else is. I can't build meaningful relationships but I really want to. These poppets are apparently they're created to serve and to aid. They do errands for their creator. They run down to the local corner market where the Isaki
Buy
are
cigarettes.
selling 2-for-1 Band-Aids, and they bring them back to their master's laboratory. So you see them going to the baker, standing in line in major metropolitan areas, and they come out with a big old piece of bread that's 3 times the size of them. It's comedic, but there's a lot of heart, I think, to stories involving poppets that you can leverage as a GM and as a player. So that's the service part. And the aiding part, they have a compulsion to aid. So if you're sick, an adventuring poppet might be going out in search of a cure
Mhm.
or in search of answers to help fix this thing. So I can see poppet clerics all over the place. I can see
Mm.
poppets using one of their skills to be medicine, nature, sort of like they are not made of flesh, but they have the education to help repair your flesh. these are really interesting stories in my brain that I and this is my number 2. So 543 was me as a player wanting to experience those stories as a player. I want to run this story. I want to run the Pinocchio. I want to be a real boy, but more like, kind of want to be a real boy. This sucks. I'm not real. What does that even mean? Can I be real?
Can I be immortal?
My best friend is a Leshy. Let's go have a beer, Leshy friend, and we can talk about how we're not like them.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And my favorite character that I never got a chance to play is my animated bag of sand. That's a puppet.
So sorry.
And I just it lights my brain up to think of these little golems in miniature form that aren't creepy, multi-headed, fire-breathing monster manual entries. They're player characters with real dreams and desires and stories that only they can tell. The puppet story can't be told with any other ancestry.
It's
true. It's their story.
That's true. Absolutely
and
true.
It's again, it's a rare ancestry, so get your permission.
Yeah.
But it's just ripe for exploitation. That story territory there. So number 2, Poppet. Not sorry.
That's a great mic drop. Honestly, that's a great choice. I should have seen it coming, but it's a great choice.
Yeah.
You
got a number 1. Make it big. Bring us home.
We wouldn't be called Goblin Salvage Rights.
You did it. You picked Goblin.
If Goblin wasn't my favorite ancestry, now would it?
I was so tempted to do exactly what you just did.
All right, listen.
Yeah. Goblins were my number 6.
Goblin. I wrote another page full of Goblin notes.
All right.
So goblins
Let me settle in here.
Unabashedly very strong mechanically.
They are.
They have some immaculate options.
You can build them deep and you can build them wide. It's absolutely ludicrous.
They have a bunch of really weird and crazy options. Base 6 HP, 25 foot move speed, bonuses to dexterity and charisma, negatives to wisdom. Up until very recently, they made terrible clerics and druids, but no more.
No more. We are now learned and wise.
Our goblins have been freed.
That's right. Everywhere across Galaria, and everybody just like turned into clerics overnight.
Yeah, and what I always found frustrating was like one of the iconic goblins from We Be Goblins was a druid.
Yeah.
So like,
he had a 16.
No, did he? I don't remember.
I have no idea, but that's what he would have had if he was min-maxed.
Yeah, definitely. So and they get base dark vision, which is awesome.
There it is again. Yep.
It's the dark vision.
Dark vision is no joke, you guys.
Unbreakable goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Their bones and flesh is made of rubber. They get base 10 HP instead of 6, which is a huge jump. When I was excited about the orcs, they got 2 extra HP with that ability in Die Hard. These gobos get base 10, so it goes from 6 to 10, which is 4, and they reduce falling damage by a significant amount. I think it's like by half.
That is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
As a player.
Later on, they later on, like it's one of the highest level ancestry feats, but I love it. It's like you take no falling damage and you bounce.
Yep.
Like a ball. Like a bouncy ball.
Throw Monk into the mix and you can like literally run on air to spectacular heights and free fall to the ground.
You just throw you throw your goblin buddy like a fucking football at your opponent. They're covered in spikes or they've got a cool sword.
What's that really strong man Greek game? Shot put? You just shot put your goblin across the battlefield.
Dude. Oh my god!
Like, I'll see your teleport and raise you one gobbo.
They took the insanity of they took the awesome, like reckless insanity that goblins in Pathfinder are really famous for.
Yep, in first edition, absolutely.
In first edition, and just baked it into the heart of this ancestry.
Yeah, they kept it and did cool stuff. I didn't feel like I lost anything with the second edition goblins. I felt like I only gained things.
They breathed new life into it, I think.
Yeah.
So they get one of the best ancestry feats that everyone is familiar with is they basically get bonuses to splash fire damage, which is really powerful. That's why the new iconic alchemist is a goblin.
Fumbus, yeah. Fumbus?
No idea. The elf will always be my iconic alchemist. But anyway, they basically make anything that does fire damage really powerful. So fire builds are really strong.
Yeah.
Just like all fire builds, inventors, alchemists,
Mhm.
sorcerers, wizards that do fire damage.
Yep.
I can see my brain began imagining and wanting to build a goblin thaumaturge that collects junk.
That could be rad.
Wouldn't that be fucking awesome?
That would be great.
Also
Wow.
thaumaturges have like a weird, not a weird, but they have like they can be
It's
built
probably weird.
as gun, like as gun users very well. There's a couple feats and abilities that allow them to be like gun wielders. So can you imagine just like a junk goblin, just like always scavenging little pieces and bobs and stuff like that, and then shoving that into a gun and then
Yep.
shooting it.
Yep.
Goblin Song. Okay. Goblin Song is amazing. Goblin Song is remember how I said before that you always want to be using your third action? You always want to be using all of your actions.
Mm-hmm.
It basically it gives your opponent a negative to wisdom. It's a non-attack trait action that debuffs their wisdom. That's really good, especially if you're playing a debuff caster.
It doesn't make your enemy dumb. It
like distracts them or something like that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Goblin Song. But basically what I put down is it's great as a one action debuff that sets up your spell. So if you're playing a witch, if you're playing a wizard, if you're playing any caster that does debuffs or is focused on will-based saving throws, this is incredible because if you already have the distance from your opponent, you use one action to debuff their wisdom, you're probably going to succeed. And if you're a charisma-based caster, this is like, bread and butter. If you're a charisma-based caster, this is just broken, honestly. It's not broken, but it's very good. And you can upgrade Goblin Song as you level up. You basically can make it better and better and better and better. So they make very strong charisma-based casters. Twitchy.
That sounds like a guy who needs a gun.
Okay, so this is something you should ask your DM about or GM about, whatever. If your GM is good about using non-traditional perception checks for initiative, Twitchy is amazing because if they use deception or diplomacy as their initiative check, you get a +4 to initiative.
Okay,
which is very powerful. It's unheard ofly powerful. So if you're if you're playing with a DM who often does that, that'd be really cool. Especially if you're getting into like diplomatic situations all the time.
Yeah.
If not, it's not a big deal. Bouncy Goblin, already talked about that. Oh yeah, actually Bouncy Goblin is really good for swashbucklers. Gives them +2 circumstance, I think, to tumble through. So there's swashbucklers and rogues have builds that focus specifically on tumbling through.
Entering through the square.
Yeah. Doing the acrobatics action. This makes it very strong.
I can see that.
Ankle Biter is fucking hilarious. A lot of monsters have a free grab. So the ability to get out of a free grab is really strong.
Yep.
Okay. Torch Goblin might be the greatest feat ever written.
That's probably the one they started with when they wrote the book.
So what it says is you already have to have the Charhide Goblin, which gives you resistance to fire damage. And what it says is basically you light yourself on fire.
Yep.
And if anyone's grappling you or touching you, they take D6 fire damage. And if all of your hits have 1 extra fire damage applied to them.
Yep. What's not to love?
Self-immolation is like, come on.
That's like, the way.
That's, oh my God, so fucking cool.
Don't try this at home.
Another great option is Tree Climber. It was introduced in the advanced Ancestry guide or whatever.
Is that the one for the monkey goblins with the prehensile tails?
Yeah. So Tree Climber doesn't have any prerequisites though, from what I remember.
Oh, cool. So anybody can take it.
So any goblin can tape it, and it's actually really rare from what I understand. It gives you a climb speed at level 5, which is very early for climb speed.
Sure.
Goblins had another feat at level 9 that gave them a climb speed, and they stack. So you could have a 20-foot climb speed by level 9, which is very strong. If you're tired of burning things, you could freeze them. You take this is a level 9. This is a level 9 ancestry feat, from what I understand. But if you took the cold weather goblin heritage, you could take the freeze it ancestry feat. It's an athletics check against one or multiple enemies. I can't remember, within like 5 feet. but it makes them clumsy 1 or 2. Clumsy is a debuff to AC.
Yep.
That doesn't stack. If I remember correctly, it's a status negative, so it doesn't. It does stack with things like flat-footed and stuff like that, which
It's
is
so hard to stack things in this
really
edition.
powerful.
When
Really
you get
powerful.
it, use it.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing like one of those winter goblins you just described talking to other goblins going, it's freezer burn. It is fire.
It's freezer burn. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm going to give you frostbite one way or another.
Trying to make it sound like it's actually legitimate.
Yeah.
You're not a real goblin.
Yeah. And then last but definitely not least, they have probably one of the coolest, like I think it's a 17th level ancestry feat. Or
Someday we'll play that far.
Yeah, I know. It could be a 13th level, but it seemed really powerful to me. It's called Reckless Abandon. Once per day. I'm a Canadian
Once
now.
per day.
Once per
Tell me
day,
what that's about.
you basically become immune for 1 round to all damage.
The fuck?
Basically, I mean, I'm obviously oversimplifying and making it sound cooler than it is, but it is almost effectively, you just don't take damage from things for 1 round.
I would like to look my GM dead in the eye on 1 round and go, no.
I'm being reckless. What is that, dude? Exactly. So that for those reasons,
That's crazy talk.
for those reasons alone, they're my favorite
Yeah.
ancestry. But on top of that, they're just
so screwball delightful to just
fucking
build,
awesome.
to play, to think about, to wonder how your next one would work.
Mhm.
I can't think of 3 different ways to build a dwarf, but I can think of like 9 different ways to build a goblin.
Absolutely.
And each one is better than the last. I love it.
They make a hilarious version of every class.
Yeah. You're making me rethink my number 1, but I'm not going to because I'm rather happy with it.
What is it?
All
Hit me.
said and done. Do you know what an Azer Katai is?
Oh, an Azer Ketty?
An Azer Ketty?
I don't actually know how it's pronounced.
An Azer Kiti?
Azer Ketty?
I don't know. But in the lore of Pathfinder, there was an old civilization that predates mankind. And they were just sort of like Atlanteans, essentially. And then, a big old meteor came out of the sky, went squish, squish, and now it's a bunch of broken islands and everything's sunk underwater. So we're talking about aboleths, we're talking about Sahuagin, we're talking about, gillmen. Gillmen are now called Azerketi. So that's how I pronounce it. I've looked all over the Googles to find out how to say this damn word, and it just drives me batshit.
Gotcha.
That I don't know how to pronounce it, and it's my favorite ancestry at the same time.
Gotcha.
So who are these guys? These are like they're not mermaids. They look like you and me, but they have gills. They have fins. They're bipedal. They're blue. There's stunning artwork for them out there by now, and they basically they're aquatic creatures. So every 24 hours they need to go submerge themselves in water. Otherwise, bad things start happening. Their skin starts getting dry and cracked. If they're 48 hours out of water without dousing themselves, they start to asphyxiate. They fucking die.
Wow.
So I have played one in game, and I made sure it was in a coastal setting when I did.
I remember.
Just in case. But they're really hard to play, and they're also, I think they're rare. Are they rare?
I think that might be.
No, they're uncommon. They're uncommon.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that actually makes a lot of sense, because of their connection to Aslant.
Yeah, and a lot of their aquatic communities are in the inner sea, like surrounding Absalom.
Isn't
and
there
there's a
one
major settlement north of Absalom? North of the Starstone Isle.
Yeah.
So who are these guys? Constitution bump, charisma bump, but their wisdom's a little south. And that has to do with the fact that these guys were essentially like rescued by these aquatic beholders, essentially called
aboleths.
Aboleths. Thank you. I just said the word. So aboleths basically, after this, ancestry of people kind of died out due to a cataclysmic event
that they caused.
That they caused, right? They kind of like rescued them and then enslaved them.
Oh, it's like Stockholm syndrome.
Exactly.
Oh, geez.
And then a lot of time passed, and then we broke away. Some of us did,
cool.
and others are still with them, allied with the
Oh,
aboleths.
this sounds very.
Others are like by themselves, but it's all aquatic.
This sounds very Githzerai, Githyanki-esque.
Of the sea.
Yeah.
Imagine Githyanki in a Little Mermaid cartoon.
Okay.
I want you to think about that real hard.
It's kind of badass.
Prince Erik doesn't actually have a nose. He just has 2 slits right here. And he's all yellow from jaundice.
Oh my
Those are the
god,
goofiest.
the Tau
race of
from
creatures.
40K or just the Githyanki?
They're a
of the
ripoff,
40K.
yeah.
Oh shit.
Blah blah blah. Where were we? Okay, so Azer. They start out with a swim speed.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't nothing.
That's
So you
pretty
mentioned climb speed. Almost from the get go, these guys can swim 20 feet just by being in a bathtub. It's good stuff. I mentioned the hydration. So themes. I love aquatic adventures, but I'm kind of tired of pirates. I love aquatic adventures. I'm kind of tired of people smuggling things into the docks. It's anything aquatic base is just same thing over and over and over and over.
It always
and I'm just
devolves into a
tired of it.
pirate trope. Yeah,
It's the same 3 or 4 things, right? But Azer, you can go to the Mariana Trench
absolutely,
and have Rage of Elements style, the elemental plane of Earth breaks open under the sea, and you go there because you can breathe underwater. You don't need magic to do it. You don't have to worry about shit like that.
I love that idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Or there's that even in Absalom, a part of Absalom fell into the water.
Yeah, 20 years ago, the earthquake happened,
Yeah.
and like an entire district is underwater, and the Azer live down there.
Exactly.
And there's like Azer janitors that are just like scooping shit up and getting it out of the way and making things nice for the Radiant Festival that's coming up soon.
Yeah, so you could have like an entire adventure full of Azer players.
You want underwater cops? Make them an Azer
Okay,
they exist in Absalom. They
didn't
ride
think
around on
about that.
Hippocampus.
That's so fucking
And
cool.
it's just rad, yeah. So aquatic themes, and because they had that sort of like that Stockholm syndrome thing you mentioned, they're sort of like created individuals. The Aboleths kind of genetically modified them, so they're less human and more Azer now.
Abelethian.
Yeah, sure. So that brings in, if you know the nature of the Aboleths and what they do, they're kind of like conspiracy. They're like capital C conspiracy. What's the big one here on Earth? The society.
Illuminati.
The Illuminati. Yeah, this is Illuminati kind of story.
They're literally the Illuminati of glory.
Aquatic Illuminati with an entire created ancestry of people that are just recently in the timeline connecting with the races, with the ancestries outside of the water. Are you a Cylon?
Yeah.
Am I a Cylon?
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Am I really me, or am I just waiting for my program to go off and all of a sudden I'm the Manchurian candidate of the sea?
Absolutely.
Those kind of stories can be told with these guys, and legacies. Oh my God, legacy stories. My grandfather stood on the Battle of the Line and he survived, and I have his sword here. That's a legacy story. But my great grandfather was actually genetically modified by a squid in the deepest part of the ocean after his entire civilization was crushed by a comet. Okay, you win.
Yeah, that's a little different.
I will buy your beer.
I will buy your beer. Yeah, exactly.
So aquatic stories. I'm yearning for quality aquatic stories that don't involve peg leg pirates. I love conspiracy CIA type stories. I love espionage. I love thriller as a genre, and Azer that's a sweet spot for them right now. And then legacy type storylines, they've got it in spades. And this is my number one. So as a GM, I want to see somebody at the table play an Azer so I can run them through those thematic storylines.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's why that's my number one. I swear 2 of these were going to make my list before I actually studied and prepared for this. And the rest, I'm really glad we did this, because all 5 of these are going to be characters in my next 5 games, either as a player or as a GM.
Yeah, one of my friends got me he printed me this awesome Knoll miniature. I don't know where it's from, but it's resin printed, and it made me think, I wonder if Knolls are cool in Pathfinder. I remember them being in Ancestry. I wonder if they're pretty rad. And they are.
Yep. Super viable, super flavorful, super fun. And you can bite things and grapple them with your teeth.
Yeah, or trip them. But yeah, so it's just these little things, like for me, models and pieces and pictures really inspire me the most. So whenever I find something like that, it really just brings it to life.
Yep.
Brings it to the
sensory
forefront.
data. You just got to take that picture, put it up to your face, and just sniff it.
Yeah. Smell the pictures.
Without the other character.
Exactly. I think that's it for this week.
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Goblins. Really appreciate you. Check out our Discord. Like I said, link's going to be in the description. It's pretty freaking rad. We're adding new people to it every week. Check out some of our other videos. We're working on 2 major videos right now that we hope are really going to blow your socks off. Thanks for hanging out with us. And
we're doing exercises on Discord. We're talking about theory crafting and how to do it here versus PF1. There's a lot of cool conversations going on right now. So come join the fun.
Sweet.
All right.
Keep it weird.